Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. We are live on Facebook as well, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Subscribe on YouTube as well, where we are currently sitting at a number of subscribers. You just got to get the jersey number here. But hey, anyway, Twitter, Facebook, and you can subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. Bit of a colder opening today. It's a bit of a rough time in the Canucks community and in the hockey community. We'll get to that in a little bit. Joined by Devin. Hello, Devin. How are you?
Hey, Kev. Doing pretty good considering. It's been a hell of 3 days, I guess, getting all this information. So it's a bit of a downer, but we'll try and keep people's spirits up with this podcast.
Yes, and our guest today, I think, can help us with that. He has over 20 years. Lucas Gates has seen amazing growth in the neurodiverse community. Growing up during a pivotal point of change allows Lewis to talk with the community and allows our community to become a safe place, an inclusive place for all. He was recently on with Canucks Clay. It's Autism Awareness Month. Unfortunately, because of a postponement of a game, we didn't have a chance to do Autism Awareness Day with the Canucks, but that's okay. We're going to get some information out today. That's our goal. Lucas Gates, welcome to the Hockey Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kevin and Devin. I just want to send a little message to all our fans out there in Canucks land. I know the boys they're resting up. Get well soon, boys. We'll want to see you back on the ice as soon as possible. And if it can't be done this season, so big deal. It's just the health is much more of a bigger issue right now. And be well, guys. Just be well.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree with that. Lucas, before we begin here, kind of tell us a little bit. There'll be probably some people who don't know who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
So anyway, just for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Lucas Gates. I am an autism advocate. I'm involved with many autism resources across the Vancouver area. When it comes to my jobs at the Pacific Autism Family Network, I'm also affiliated with AID Canada, which is a national resource for autistic individuals and those with intellectual disabilities. I'm also affiliated with, I'm also a board member of Autism BC, and I'm affiliated with Canucks Autism Network. And I'm also just a kind of cool little thing. I also work for the boys in blue, so in retail. So yeah. Just not this season though, because of COVID.
Yeah, obviously. So how did you get involved with the Canucks? Kind of tell us kind of your story, your background. Just tell us how you got involved with the Canucks Autism Network, how you became an advocate that you did.
Oh, actually, funny story, Kevin. Actually, I think I explained this on Clay Emu's video interview, but so what happened was my family created a soccer team. I know it's a different sport and whatnot, but what happened was I have a sister with Down syndrome as well. So she was going to play on a regular girls soccer team, and no ifs, no buts. She had a great time. Mom was going to pay her pay the coach the $100, the registration fee, with all that with all the registration fees. And then the coach took my mom aside. Trust me, this is where Can comes into play. Trust me, this is just a buildup. And then took her aside and told my sister would be a liability because she had a visible disability. As myself, I have an invisible one. I have an intellectual disability. So it was a massive story. Let's just put a media circus. Fast forward a couple months later, when we started our team, some representatives from the Aquilinis were coming by our field, and they wanted to get a grasp of what we do at our team. We're the Blazing Soccer Dogs, by the way. That's our team name. I could probably send you the info later.
Yeah, for sure. Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Anyway, so what happened was some representatives of the Aquilinis came by our field and said, we wanted to start something similar called Canucks Autism Network. And they were talking with them a little bit. And that's actually how Canada started, because how we started our thing, and then they learned from us. And that's how we all kind of got to know each other. And it's kind of coincidental that I was involved with Can well before I officially was affiliated with them. So it all comes full circle, huh?
Sure does. Where does so what are some of the things like you um where are you doing most of your advocacy work? Like what are you trying to educate people on? I know with autism, the subject of autism, I know that there's some controversy in terms of what works in terms of what the information that is given and what's not. So from your perspective, tell us a little bit about the advocacy work that you specifically work on.
So the advocacy work on, that's a really good question, Kevin, because that actually is something I've seen on a regular basis on social media, and it's not fun. But I do know that yeah, there's always going to be some controversy when it comes to the connotation, because of course it's going to be awareness versus acceptance, you know, that whole connotation, because they think, oh, we should focus more on accepting people over spreading the awareness. In fact, just for your listeners to know, they don't consider it either autism awareness or acceptance anymore. They just call it World Autism Month, straight up.
Okay. Well, my apologies if I said that differently. My apologies.
Hey, Kevin, it is totally fine. We make mistakes. No one is perfect, and I understand people sometimes make a slip of the tongue, and it happens. No one's perfect. Yeah. But yeah, I try to be more of what's considered a neutral advocate. So I talk more like a middle ground kind of thing. So I talked like between like before COVID hit, I had like a lot of speaking engagement with like schools and whatnot. So so between that and you know, helping other individuals and helping people understand that we're a little bit different when way of thinking it, but that's a good thing. You know, thinking a little bit differently isn't the end of the world.
No, absolutely no. I've been known to think differently myself for sure. So you work at the Canucks. You work at the store with the Canucks. You have a bunch of different uniforms. I'm just going to toss a side question out here. What is your favorite Canuck uniform? Is it the one you're wearing now? The one I have in the back? Which one?
Actually, believe it or not, I do know because I've worked last season when a lot of fans were like super hyped about the flying skate jersey. The flying skate jersey is where it's at. Again, I don't know what's happening with it, but I mean, all I can say is, yeah, we did hear you at Team Star. We did hear you.
Fair enough. Devin, did you have anything to ask?
What do you think of the new retro jerseys?
Are you talking regarding the reverse retros? The
reverse retros, like,
the 2001 style. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. You know, it's a sort of a remixed kind of the 01 West Coast Express era. You know, that's a nice touch. I have to commend them. I have to commend Upstairs for that. That was a really nice touch. I mean, I have seen the Flames though one because of course, obviously you're with the Calgary Flames, and I do admit the Blasty jerseys look awfully nice though. So again, I'm a guy who likes jersey aesthetics, so just take it from me. I saw all the reverse retros this year, and a lot of them do look really nice. So kudos to the rest of the league for trying to pull off something really unique this year.
Yeah, that's it's certainly fun. Looks a little different, I think, and kind of certainly gives a different field. What are some of the things that especially now you talked a little bit about not being able to work here in terms of like and speaking engagements have been down a little bit. So how, in terms of social media, I know that you mentioned neutral, how are you getting your message of autism awareness out, and how are you feeling also that how the NHL is doing in terms of making that part of their awareness themselves?
That's a really good question, Kevin. I do honestly think that there's always room for growth. We're in a different era now that a lot more people are accepting people for who they are. Like, you know, obviously, I've seen some other organizations around the NHL sort of picking it up. It's baby steps. You know what I mean? Everyone's learning and growing. It's not like it's going to happen like on a flick of a snap like this. So it obviously takes time, but I mean, the league is trying to grow and learn. Again, every team has their own differences. Every organization has their own touch and go. But yeah, everyone learns and grows and develops the different initiatives because it may be in-house, it may be for a different organization. Who knows?
You mentioned a little bit off air. You were working a little bit with the Winnipeg organization.
No. Actually, that was.
Sorry, man.
Hey, no worries. I'm just referencing I was referencing there was other organizations out there that actually do things like the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay.
Yeah, before COVID hit everybody like a brick. I do know they actually did a partnership with another organization out there. I'm trying to think of other ones. I do know Ottawa also did something, but again, it's everything right now is completely on pause, so I don't know exactly everything. All I know is about Rogers Arena and how we do it. That's all I know at this time.
Fair. And you're involved with some other teams in Vancouver as well. Tell us about them.
Oh, actually, so technically, because of my other job with the Pacific Autism Family Network, shout out to the gang over there. You guys are the best. With my other job, we actually had a partnership with the Vancouver Whitecaps and the BC Lions of this Canadian Football League. So we actually had some sort of sensory kind of things with them. Hopefully, when they start having fans again, and I was talking to one of my colleagues over at the Whitecaps. Hopefully they'll have fans back in the seats. Hopefully by the summer. And if the way that things are, if they get the things going out, who knows? Summer is looking awfully good right now. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think we need to, yeah, for sure. I think hopefully, I mean, I know that people are sort of not in that headspace right now, considering everything that is around, but I like the fact that you're still thinking positively. I totally respect that. I think we need more of that.
Yeah, that's exactly why I had to do that thing yesterday, because some of my fellow generational cohorts were not exactly behaving. So here in BC, especially, so I had to sort of get that message out. And fortunately, it looking like the message is getting across. So that's at least a good start.
Yeah. And I mean, congratulations as well. You got to 1,000 followers on Twitter. I think you need to give Devin some lessons, who's at a mere 43 right now. So,
hey, don't worry. I'll let you know one reason. I think also I have a lot of media contacts and a lot of people I know personally who are have a lot of are sort of like local personalities around here. I know personally, so that's probably helps a little bit as well.
That's fair.
Yeah, Devin. So you need to get connected, I think.
I really do.
And I don't know who's out there in Calgary, unfortunately. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. If I get one more follower from you, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
How can we help and our listeners help spread the word of autism, and what we need to know to help with that?
Just learn from other people's experiences. One voice is only just one voice. Everyone's opinions are valid. Everyone just respect everyone's opinions, because their opinion is just one voice in the whole community aspect. Again, like whenever I do speaking engagements or stuff, I say from my point of view. But again, every person's opinion is valid, but their voices are just one little tidbit, not for the representative of everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So how, tell us, like, do you have any speaking engagement stories that you're like, had a really good conversation with someone that changed an opinion or brought someone together, or?
Well, so I think this was earlier. I'm trying to remember because I'm trying to remember speaking engagements, because of course with COVID and everything, instead of everything went. So I'm trying to roll myself back. So of course in high school it was very difficult for me. I had some really rough goes. Unfortunately, high school was a big jump. Let's put it that way. But anyways, I wasn't exactly on good terms with my TA, my teacher assistant. So again, I'm not going to reveal their name just because I want to be respectful. But anyway, when I was doing a speaking engagement an engagement in Richmond, BC at a high school. So I was talking to all the TAs, and I got really, really nervous because, of course, with TAs, I didn't want to offend them. But of course, I was after they done, they all came up to me. This was before COVID, by the way. So just a little heads up. But yeah, I was talking to them saying, how can we improve better? I was talking to them. They were so nice. They wanted to learn. And that's the thing, though, is maybe my experience 10 years ago may be different than nowadays, because I'm 10 years removed from high school. So, things could have changed. At least 10 years removed. Over. Yeah.
Did you do any post-secondary?
Yes, actually I did. I didn't graduate, but I did do a couple did do post-secondary, a little bit of web design, a little bit of just general information. But yeah. Speaking about post-secondary, obviously in the local news, obviously you probably heard that the Coquitlam Express actually hired Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' older brother as their interim head coach, if I'm not mistaken. Have you heard about that, Kevin?
I actually, yes, I do play-by-play. Well, not since COVID. I was doing play-by-play for the Greater Vancouver Canadians, so I know Adam, actually. So
yeah, actually, believe it or not, this is true. I totally didn't know this at the time. Complete ding-dong of me. But in my first year of post-secondary, I was in the same public speaking class as Adam Nugent-Hopkins. Like, I'm not kidding you. Because he was wearing his Red Deer Rebels hat, and I didn't quite click. It didn't quite click at the time. I didn't know his brother was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I was such a dummy. Yeah. He went first overall to the Oilers.
That's okay. It took me a few months on our chat to realize who ANH was. So I was like, who's ANH? And I'm like, oh. It took me a while to clue in for sure as well. I'm curious, like, you talked a little bit about from a high school perspective, some struggle. How do you feel from a post-secondary perspective that in terms of what was, like, you don't have to get too personal, but like from your perspective, how was that in terms of the supports for you there?
Much better. Oh my goodness, Adam! It is much. Kevin, sorry. My head's a little.
That's okay.
I'm a little warped right now. It's all good. But yeah, it was definitely much better because I find that in post-secondary, I think it's not like in high school they're like, oh, we just want you to graduate and bye-bye, because it's public, it's not, I was in public, so it's a little different than private, but they're like, okay, Tom, you moved on, congratulations, bye-bye. In college, they actually want you to succeed, and they want to make sure you're achieving your best nowadays. And I have to commend post-secondary for that. They're trying their hardest, and you can definitely tell the atmosphere is like completely different than the public high schools, like 110%, much different ethic. And by the way, even when you're not 100%, you can't make it to class. Pardon me. They actually, a lot of them, like, you actually think yourself, oh no, I can't make it to class. It's like, oh shoot, what do I do? It's not like high school are like, oh, whoopee. It's like, oh, I get to miss school. Whoopee. Like that kind of thing. It's a total different paradigm.
Yeah. It's sort of, in post-secondary, I find I find that if I miss in a class, I really feel like I'm missing out. I didn't feel that way in high school. I took a lot of me time in high school. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
So, yeah. So I guess let's just quickly touch. I mean, just from your perspective here, we won't touch too much. We won't talk about the current situation, but in terms of kind of how you felt the Canucks have played up to this point this year, what have kind of some of the things that you've been impressed with? How were you feeling up to this point about the way the Canucks were playing up to this point?
I was actually happy with some of our young guys. Like Hoglander definitely proved himself. I mean, with no preseason, I was very impressed with how Hoglander was showing himself. And I mean, because we usually, if it wasn't for the condensed schedule, if we had preseason, these guys have to get trained, get used to the pro game. If they don't work out, they either go back to junior or off to Utica. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I was very impressed with some of our guys this year. Again, it's been a very up and down year because with the scheduling, it was basically with like baseball styling. They had like 1, 2, 3 in a row, so the scheduling was like really crunched. And also with our games being scheduled within the division only, that also caused a little bit of troubles because with the point tally, you couldn't travel outside the division because of border issues. So that's also a big reason why I think this was also a very touch and go year. Again, whoever wins the cup this year, whoever wins it, good for them. But I'm going to put a huge asterisk on them because a lot of issues have come up with outbreaks.
Yeah, it's been a unique year. I mean, we touched wood at like the first half of the season. We were okay, and now certainly some bumps and bruises going on. So what do you've got going on in kind of the rest of this time? What are you up to? How can we support you?
Well, the good news though is one of my I've actually have 3 part-time jobs with the Canucks one being on pause at the time, so I'm just waiting until they give us the thumbs up to get back to the rink. I do honestly, at this point, I do believe next season we might be opening up again. Again, I have a really funny feeling that might happen the way that with the happening, but I do honestly think we'll be open in time for the 2021-22 season when Seattle comes in. That will be fun. And anyone who thinks the North Division is going to stay, kiss it goodbye. I'm not going to want it back. You know, none of us do. You know,
Thank you.
I know. Like us in Calgary, we want to go back to our usual alignment, like our rivalries are just our normal rivalries, like with Calgary and Edmonton, even though it's still a thing. Us in Seattle, Vegas and LA. You know, it's just we need to just go back to the usual way of doing things. It just doesn't feel right having to travel 3 time zones ahead. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, the stories after this year, I think from all of the teams, I think from this bubble experience, not only the here, but in the playoffs, it's really, although it isn't a bubble, it's certainly an isolation. It's a traveling bubble. I think the stories we hear out of this, I think will be quite fascinating for sure.
Yeah, I can only imagine some of the interviews after the season is done. There's definitely going to be one for the books. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But anyway, going back to what I was saying about what I've been up to these days, I've actually been with my other jobs. I've been working from one of my jobs. This is actually my home office. So I actually get to work.
That's a pretty sweet setup, I got to tell you.
Yeah, thanks. I got my gaming console set, my older gaming console set up over there and whatnot. I actually just recently got the new consoles though, so yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I've been working from home 1 day a week, and then 3 the other days I'm at my day job, and we'll see what happens. I'm actually looking really forward to getting back to the rink and seeing our Canucks fans again. And probably we'll be seeing some those Flames fans at the rink soon. That's always fun seeing Flames fans having a little fun, having a little too much at our rink. But it's all in good fun though. All in good fun.
It's a great rivalry both ways. I mean, you go. Tyler and I went out last year to Calgary. Well, I'm from Calgary. Tyler came out and we did our little pub cast, the Canucks and Flames, out at the Saddle Dome. That was quite something, watching that for sure.
Yeah, it's always fun, but I mean, right now that's still a technical rivalry. But of course, with Seattle coming in, that's going to probably put this rivalry, it's going to probably not going to be the same. Let's put it that way. It's not going to be the same.
No, yeah, I mean, I guess I could see Seattle. I could see us, the Canucks fans, kind of being the big brothers to Seattle for a little bit. And then once Seattle gets good, I think then the Canucks fans will just say, screw it. Forget it. We're not your fans anymore. We're not helping you.
You know what? Actually, I actually made an April Fool's Day joke about it, obviously, if you follow me on Twitter. So just a tongue-in-cheek joke to rip on the Kraken fans. So it's all in good fun, guys. All in good fun. Don't worry.
Cool. So speaking of that, tell us how we can follow you and where we can find you on Twitter for those who are looking.
Good thing you asked. I'm also on Insta and Facebook as well. So my handle on Twitter is, obviously, because if most of you if you're following this on Twitter, my handle is at LucasGates92. That is my handle. So if you're interested in following me over there, I'm just, again, like Kevin was mentioning, I recently crossed 1,000 followers. Thank you to everyone who's following me on my journey. I massively appreciate it. I'm also on Instagram. Just go look it up right now because, of course, I'm still on my computer here. I believe I'm also at LucasGates92 as well. So follow me there. And I'm also on Facebook as well. Follow me at what was it? Lucas. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking for myself right now.
I do this all the time. Do not worry.
Yeah. So I'm actually also at LucasGates actually, it's LucasGates1992. Facebook.com/LucasGates1992. That's my birth year, by the way. So that's actually why I went with this.
Nice.
Yeah, because no one on the team wears that right now, so I figured, what the heck, I know it. I know it's Landeskog's number in Colorado, so yeah, but no one on the team right now wears it.
Yeah, there we go. Well, Lucas, I really appreciate you taking the time. Happy Easter.
Same to you. Same to you.
And yeah, what were you going to say?
I'm just going to say, and of course, be safe, everyone. Celebrate safely. We're around the last leg of this pandemic. I know it's bitter. It's bitter that the numbers are going up, but we're almost out of this. Come on, everybody, pull up your skates, and let's finish the job. We're in the third period of this pandemic. Let's get her done. Let's get this. Let's win this game.
Exactly. Thanks, Lucas. We totally appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much, guys, and have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, you too, man.
Cheers.
Thanks. Lucas Gates, lucasgates.ca, and there we go. Okay, there we go. It was great to have him on.
Absolutely.
I think he's got a really good positive spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely take away his positivity out of that interview for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Just started snowing here in Calgary again. I don't know. Hopefully, it just seems like it's just hitting the ground and I don't think it's going to stick around. But yeah, hopefully this will be the last snow of the year, and then we can move on to spring and move on to better things. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to kind of bear with me, everyone. I'm kind of doing a number of things by myself today, but we'll start with the Canucks news. I guess for me right now, the latest has been, it looks like the number of players on the COVID list will be over 20, and there's some coaches on there as well. It's a brutal situation. This really sucks. There's not much else that we can say at this particular point in time. We know that the Canucks are not coming back for practice on Tuesday. And I think at this point, from my perspective, any other speculation of what's next, I think at this point is moot, like MOOT. Because we really don't know what's happening. And I am not a doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm no expert in any fields of this. But I think at this point, speculating what's next, I just want to say, I think to me, let's hope everyone is best and get everybody healthy. I think for me, that's the priority.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like for certain they'll be out for 2 weeks if everybody is is being tested positive. Usually about a week turnaround, depending on the case on average. So expect them to be off for about a week. I know Kev said that we're not going to, or he's not going to predict on what's happening, but I believe that's what's going to happen, is at least a week, if not 2. And just really hope it doesn't spread past the Vancouver Canucks, because they did play the Winnipeg Jets after the Montreal Canadiens, and that was after Canadiens came back from their stint too. So just really hope that it doesn't spread past the team and to anybody else as well.
Yeah, I know what I mean is like in terms of how many games are going to be played, what they should do with the season, things like that. I just there's a lot of those comments out there, and I'm just like, I honestly don't know what I think that right now the best thing to do is to wait and let the people smarter than me make these decisions, and make the people paid more to make these decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a shitty situation, and just hope the best for the players and the coaches and everybody who's affected by it. Yeah.
And yeah, just to answer, I think we answered Daniel's question. I'm not going to. That's basically, I don't know. That's my position. I don't know.
I'll answer it. I don't think that they should cancel the season. There's too many teams that are out there that have been affected already, and if we're thinking that the Canucks are a special case just because of it, then I don't think that they should. And to start up again next year, you got to expect that by that time, everybody would have their vaccines and that there wouldn't be this would be the end of the pandemic through these vaccines. So let's hope that it, like I said, doesn't spread past the Canucks.
Yeah, and I think that that's the most important thing. And just, I mean, to do a couple of comparisons, the NFL had some outbreaks throughout the year. They had to move some games around, but they got the season finished. And yes, that's 16 games versus 56. I grant that, but they found a way to do it. MLB at the start of last year, they had the same problem. They had a number of COVID outbreaks. They used to add one even at the start of this year. So I'm not. That's why I'm saying I don't know, because I just, I don't know. I don't know where everybody's going to be at when all of this is done. I don't know how people are going to be feeling. I mean, we don't even know how the players are going to be feeling. So, just kind of
just let it breathe. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it, but just see what happens. And knowing Gary Bettman, I don't. Once again, I don't think that they'll cancel the season because of one team having an outbreak, which is just it's just a crying shame. But it could have been a lot worse. Let's put it that way. As far as it took a long time for COVID to affect the North Division, and we had a perfect record going into the third quarter of the season, if you will, or last third of the season. So got to be happy that it hasn't affected us until now.
Yeah. Let's talk some actual hockey. I think that there is still hockey going on, and let's start with the team that you're not representing on the back there, the Calgary Flames. There is the Flames started off with Darryl Sutter. They won 3 in a row. Now 2 of 9, and now the whispers are happening already. Darryl Sutter's not the right guy, Devin. So when do the Flames fan base start blaming the actual players for this performance? I mean, I think some fans are, but it's just, to me, I don't look, I was a little cynical about the Darryl Sutter hiring, but I think there's some of the things that he has said lead me to believe that he has the ability, the coaching ability, to turn this team around. But the construction of this team at this particular point, it's not a playoff team. And that's not on Darryl. He just got here.
Exactly.
Darryl can't shoot the puck from the coaching position. Darryl can't kill a penalty. Darryl can't make a save when he needs a save. Yeah. And all of that has been missing.
Absolutely. It's for those people who are blaming Darryl Sutter, like Kev said, he just got here. If you know anything about hockey, you got to realize that it takes time to get the right footing. Look at Joe Quenneville down in Florida. He's a great coach. He's a Hall of Faming coach who will be, in my mind, first ballot to the Hall of Fame. And it's taken him a while to get that team in the right direction. They didn't start off strong, and now they're doing pretty damn well. So it's all, once again, it's all about the process, and to the point where you got to give it time. And this year this is not a Darryl Sutter team. This is not the type of players that he has been successful with in the past. Think about the Cup run back in 03-04. Darryl Sutter came in halfway through the year of 02-03, and the GM at the time made some moves in the offseason to I guess it was him, to make his team successful. And you just gotta take a breath, know that this year's not going to be it, know that there are going to be changes in the offseason, and the players that are going to stay on this roster and the players that are going to be Darryl Sutter players. If I was Brad Treliving, I'd be going hard on Zach Hyman. if he doesn't sign back with Toronto. I think that that's the type of player that you win with. Period. Like we talked about last podcast, the Tyler Motts of the world, the Hymans of the world, and those are the type of players, the nitty gritty players that Darryl Sutter needs on his team. And the construction of this team is not a Darryl Sutter team. So you just take a step back, take a deep breath, wait for the off season, and really hope for the best with what Brad Treliving can do in constructing this team to fit Darryl Sutter's style.
Yeah. And I think, part of the criticism of what Darryl Sutter has been doing is some of the lineup decisions. First of all, he's been scratching Juuso Välimäki. What have you thought about that decision?
I really don't mind it. If Darryl Sutter doesn't think that he is getting what he's out of, wow. Let me restart. If he doesn't think he's getting what he needs out of Juuso Välimäki or any player, he will sit them. And I think sending that message to younger players is good, and to get them to understand what they are expected to do out there for a Darryl Sutter team. So I really don't think it's a bad thing. You really don't want to do it too often, but Välimäki does need to play the way that he knows how to play and play the way that Darryl Sutter wants him to play. And I really just don't see a bad thing about it, to be honest, unless it's consistently over and over and over again. Then you're stunting his growth, and then you're not really sending a message. You're just you're not doing good for his development.
Yeah, it's a third scratch since in the last few games. So either Välimäki isn't quite there yet. And it's tough for defensemen in this. We talk a lot about Quinn Hughes and how that worked and how he blossomed right up the start. That's just not everybody. You look at, I'm not comparing Välimäki to Ethan Bear necessarily, but Ethan Bear in Edmonton has been in and out of the lineup. Rasmus Sandin in Toronto, in and out of the lineup. It's hard for defensemen in this league to gain their footing. So,
you can't expect them to just jump right in. There's only a handful of young defensemen within the past 3 to 4, even 5 years that have been able to make that jump from junior to the NHL, or even within their second year of their ELC contract to jump in. On average, the defensemen usually come in and start getting minutes when they're 24, 25, maybe even 26. And then they start gaining their footing, and it's a different game than junior is. So, yes, Välimäki, he has a lot of potential and he has high upside as of right now. But you really got to think that he needs a little bit more time to get his footing and figure out what is going to make him successful at this level.
And tonight, David Riddick will start. Markstrom has struggled. Riddick actually has better numbers than Markstrom right now. It's a back-to-back situation, so I'm assuming Markstrom starts Monday. And then depending on what the schedule is, it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward overall.
Yeah, right now the playoff hopes are done in my mind, and the writing's on the wall. So it's not like we're making a push for the playoffs. I know it's, mathematically we're still in it, but it'd be a hell of a push. And then what good is it to get in the playoffs and get swept, or just get shit kicked in the first round? So I just think that you kind of, Sutter needs to set the tone for next year, and I think that's what he's doing, especially once again with Välimäki, and he sat Michael Backlund last game as well. So
that was a health issue. I don't think he scratched Backlund.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was a health issue. Yeah.
Fair enough. I just think that it's just preparing for next year and setting a tone for what he's expecting within his next 2 years after this.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's go to the jersey that you do have in your background and the Leafs. Right now you've got. Well, let's start. I guess Zach Hyman he did not create any controversy, but TSN created apparently some controversy with Zach Hyman being on the Canadian Olympic team. I think we would agree Zach Hyman's not a Canadian Olympic player. But I also think, do you think outside of Leaf fan base that he's as appreciated as much as people think?
No, he's not. It's just the fact that he does wear the blue and white, and if you're not a Maple Leafs fan, then you really have a hard time liking the players. But if you actually pay attention to what Zach Hyman does on a game in, game out basis, and what he does in every single zone, like I said before, he's a heart and soul. He gives you everything that he has every single night, and I would actually not be surprised if you did make the Olympic team. I think that he would be a massive benefit to the Canadian roster. Once again, it's about finding that right mix between talent, skill, and work ethic. And yeah, you look back at the gold medal winning teams for the Olympics, and you have a lot of talent on there, but you have some workhorse mentality type people like Sean Couturier. I think he would be a good fit on the Canadian team. Him being a good two-way forward, really good in his defensive zone. You wouldn't really think of him right off the bat because of all the top end talent that you do have. But going back to Hyman, I think that he would very, very much be a benefit to Team Canada. And if he does get that chance, then he'd be able to show Canada and the world how good he is. And yeah, I think that'd be very, very beneficial.
I don't know if I would put him on the final roster, but I don't disagree that he would be a person that they at least have a conversation about. He's a guy that fits with everybody. He's one of those guys that a lot of teams are going to want. And in the off season, I'm telling you right now, someone's going to overpay for Zach Hyman. That's just the reality of he's that type of guy. And he's got 24 points this year. I mean,
and
he's got as many points as some of these Olympic candidates that we've been talking about. So I'm not should he be on the team? I'm not saying that, but I don't know if I'm going to sit here and say fully bias. I think that I don't think that they're not thinking about it. That's what
if anything, he should be 14th, 15th forward. Like realistically, maybe you don't start with him on the opening day roster, but you have him in the wings just in case you feel like you're not getting enough out of a certain player or certain players and playing the best. And he will come in and he will work his ass off for you and make sure that he gives everything that he has every single night.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not going to be all skill. It's some of these teams are going to put some. It's going to have to be. There's going to have to be some strategy to it. So, I don't think he makes the team. At the same time, I don't know if this was as outrageous as people were making it out to be. At the same time, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Well, once again, you need to have a good mix between offensive talent and making sure that they are able to play in every single zone properly. And Zach Hyman, he can do that. And to Kevin's point, he has as many points as some of these other players that could be on the Canadian Olympic team. So, and he hasn't been playing top end minutes all the time. He's been down on the third line, and that's not because he's not playing well. It's because of roster construction and what Sheldon Keefe has been trying to do. And when he was on that third line with Engvall, Hyman and Mikhaev, that was a hardworking line, and they created a lot of offensive chances because of how they work. And it's not because they don't have skill; they do have skill, but just pull up. Pull up your pants and let's go to work kind of a mentality that has made him so successful.
Yeah. Just for fun, I'm just going to point this out. I'm not saying that this is right. And Hyman is a winger and this guy is a center. But Zach Hyman has 24 points in 35 games. Sean Couturier, well, he's over a point a game. So he's 27. But I mean, I'll have to do some digging in terms of where the wingers are at here. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he'd be a hell of a penalty killer too. Like realistically, are you wanting to have a Sidney Crosby blocking shots? No. Are you wanting to have a McDavid blocking shots? No. You want to have penalty killers who are good at penalty killing, and like I said, just have a hard work ethic, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him being a winger on a Ryan O'Reilly line.
Exactly.
That's I think where he fits. I don't but social media was something today. This weekend for sure.
Once again, it's all about who does TSN promote the most, right?
Yeah.
And that I'm sure Sean was in uproar if it was anybody else, but Sean knows who Zach Hyman is and what type of player he is. But it's just one of those mentality things that
I don't think Sean was actually in an uproar over this.
Well, no, but it's just like it's the Toronto media shoving it down everybody's throat of look over here at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the majority of the time that's kind of what it feels like. But that take was not a hot take.
Fair. We bring balance.
Yes.
So I guess going into the trade deadline, I guess the big question now is the goaltending. Campbell continues to shine, then Campbell continues to get hurt.
Yeah. He's played absolutely amazing when he's in net, but then he's out for X amount of time. And I believe he's 8-0 through the season. So it's hard to really criticize that, but he obviously has a nagging injury that isn't going away, and every time that he plays, he probably re-injures it. I'm guessing it's maybe a pulled groin or something along those lines. But when he has been in net, he hasn't shown any. It looks like he is 100%. So it's really hard to tell what's happening there. And if you are a Leafs fan, how could you not be hoping that Jack Campbell could be the number one goalie going forward here into next year and the years after that, because of Freddie and how he has played in the playoffs. He starts out slow in October, and then he gets better, and then it seems like he's not the same goalie in the playoffs. So I can understand the uproar of let's run with Campbell and get a different backup goalie for next year. But as of right now, Freddie Anderson, it sounds like he's not going to join them on the road trip as of right now. He will be coming back here probably this week is my guess. So having them as a tandem going into the playoffs, I think would be good. Hopefully, Campbell can get healthy, but I'm just very curious on what type of talks they're going to have in the offseason.
Yeah. I guess from the Leafs perspective, the other thing that I wonder about is what is this last month about? Getting first place, I think, is the obvious thing here. Yep. But in terms of, because I think you don't want anything to do in the first round with that Edmonton-Winnipeg matchup. Let Edmonton and Winnipeg have that matchup. Let them fight it out, and then you battle Montreal is sort of the thought. But in terms of that, looking like first place is getting wrapped. What else? What do you hope here for the last month or so of the season?
Just more of the same. Just get consistency, or keep the consistency going. You do have 4 points up on Edmonton and Winnipeg, so I don't think that with the game in hand on top of that, so I don't think that they will falter. And if they do, then yeah, you're kind of you're playing either Winnipeg or Edmonton, and that's could be a bit of a shit show. But I just think that you just focus on the little things, doing the little things right, and just start revving up for the playoffs, because you know that it's coming. But just don't let your foot off the gas pedal just yet, because once you start doing that, then especially at this point in the season, then it's hard to really flip on that switch and go at 100%. If anything, yeah, get your goalies healthy, and like you said, Kev, trade deadline. It's coming up. It's about a week and a half away. Is that right?
A week away. Week tomorrow.
Wow.
8 days.
Yeah, make sure that you potentially get a different goalie, because if, say for instance, Anderson gets hurt and Campbell gets hurt, you're relying on Michael Hutchinson. Whew, that's a deep breath, and that's not something you want to be going into playoffs with, even when you're playing Montreal. And I'm very curious on Montreal's perspective too, is how Eric Staal is going to be impacting that lineup and bringing a bunch of leadership and depth to that locker room. I'd be a little bit worried about the depth of Montreal. So yeah, just make sure that you're consistent with your work ethic, and Dubas maybe solidify a different third string goalie.
Yeah,
which could be David Riddick, essentially.
I can't see the Leafs going after Riddick. He doesn't have any playoff experience. The only time that he was thrown into the playoffs, he was thrown under the bus by Jeff Ward.
Yep.
I don't see it. But
well, and who else is out there is my question. That is, the first thing you think of is, okay, you want to be in division because you don't have to worry about the 1 week quarantine, right? I just think that it's hard to think outside of that. Maybe a Carolina Hurricanes goalie, because Mrazek's coming back. Nedeljkovic has been amazing, and same with Reimer. Reimer's played very well, and I kind of teased it at the end of last podcast. Maybe Reimer might be on his way back. Who knows?
What the name Jonathan Quick has come up.
If you go, there's got to be something amazing coming out with that, because what is he getting paid? His cap hit is up there, is from what I remember. On the fly here. Great podcasting.
This is how you podcast, eh?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, professional podcaster here.
He's at a 5.8 cap hit as of right now. And he has 2 more seasons after this season. So that you'd have to definitely retain some salary, and maybe even trade Freddie Anderson over to down there, but to kind of make it work. But I'd be curious on what Blake does down there in I guess with Jonathan Quick. Who knows?
Well, the Leafs are in an advantage in that sense that they can have players quarantine and they're not in a dangerous situation. So in theory, it would be quite a bold move, but if you did Jonathan Quick, you can give him the time to get set up, and then you have him for the playoff run.
Having 2 LA King goalies with Quick and Campbell.
And then your probable matchup of Price versus Quick in the playoffs. I mean, the negative to that is he's coming in so late in terms of style that's an interesting question. But
well, and they've been giving the majority of the starts to Cal Peterson down there too, because seems like they are pretty high on him as their next number 1 goalie or 1A goalie going forward too. So it depends on how ready he actually is for kind of prime time minutes and potentially starts, depending on what's happening with Campbell and Anderson. He is 35 years old. So yeah, he's getting up there, and his athletic style hasn't really benefited him in the past few years.
Yeah, and that's really dependent on what the Leafs will give up next year. And the other issue that the Leafs are facing, to go back to what Lucas was saying, is if we go back to the divisions, you have to set your team to a Boston, a Tampa, a Montreal, a Florida. You've got a high rising Ottawa team who is going to do some things, I think, next year. I'm not saying win the division, but that team is going to. They didn't do it this year, Devin. I was wrong. They didn't go on a hot streak, but they will battle for a playoff spot next year. I really believe the Ottawa Senators will be battling for a playoff spot. So
they just need to solidify their defense a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was having a debate with the Sens guys about Thomas Chabot, whether or not he's a number one defenseman. God, we talk about Chabot all the time, but I feel like they're overworking him, and they need to get some help on that back end to really make them not a contender, but a potential push playoff contender, I guess, not a Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah, they've got the forwards in Ottawa, I think, to compete. I think that they've got some really talented forwards there going forward. And I think Brady Tkachuk is starting to take a step in the right direction. But yeah, that defense needs some work. And you've got a huge question there with Matt Murray. And you're definitely you're not protecting him.
You wouldn't think so. I wouldn't be. It depends whether or not he has a no trade or no move clause. I don't think he does. But yeah, Hogberg he played well last year. Hasn't really shown up this year. And they have that other goalie that just got his first win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I forget his name. But yeah, they really need to solidify that goaltending. But once again, it's hard to have a good goaltender when your defense is not is subpar in the NHL. He
makes 6.2. Murray does no movement.
There you go.
You're not protecting him, but if you're the Kraken, are you taking him?
Depends on who else is available. If there's another goaltender out there that you think is better, or that you think that you can groom within the next little bit, then yeah, I would think that you might be taking him. How long is that contract? It's
that contract is till 23-24.
So it's not too bad. It might be a good stopgap to where they can potentially contend. I think that they would want to have a running start like the Vegas Golden Knights did, but is that realistic? I don't think so. I don't think that they are will be able to be as competitive as the Golden Knights were and go to the Stanley Cup Finals on their first year. But who knows? It once again, it really depends on what goalies are out there. And once again, you got to get to the cap floor. And if you're not going to be taking big contracts on other teams, then Matt Murray might be a good 1A, 1B combo with somebody else. And maybe even that be Braden Holtby.
I'm not. To me, if the names are just on the top of my head that I could see is maybe a Robin Leonard, one of the Vegas goalies, Fleury or Leonard, and depends on who they protect. Another one that I could see Seattle taking a shot at is Jake Allen if the Canadians protect Carey Price, and if they don't, that is an interesting question. Maybe it's Carey Price in Seattle.
Man, that if you're a Canucks fan, you got to be shaking in your boots a little bit, wondering how he will impact that team. Because I do believe that he does have a place down in Washington State there. I believe that was one of the talking points in the offseason this past year. So yeah, there's so many different things, and I cannot wait to go down that list. Like we kind of teased at the end of podcast, at the midweek, I can't wait to go down that road and start making lists and teams that could you could kind of make for Seattle. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else we need to talk about?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. It's a shorter one. That's okay. We'll do our midweek intermission. I think we'll do maybe I'll toss it out there. We'll do a trade deadline preview of the Northern Division teams anyway, and see what they can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll kind of do that, and then we'll have the trade deadline is on the 12th. So I'm assuming we're going to be on that day, but we haven't talked about that yet. So
Yeah. I would say that we probably we'll have at least after the deadline on the trade deadline show. I think we should definitely do that. So be prepared for that, ladies and gents.
For sure. And how do we follow you?
Gordhouse09 on Twitter.
Lucas Gates again is Lucas Gates 92. Beardy Canuck 03 is Sean. Schneids is Chris SCHNEIDZ. Tyler TNOBLE. I am KEVULE. Podcast _hockey. Facebook.com the hockey podcast. YouTube.com the hockey podcast. Happy Easter, everyone. We will talk to you in the middle of the week, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.